Hello and welcome to Sammy C. Press. Today we're going to talk a bit about the dyslexic brain. Now remember, the dyslexic brain is not flawed. It's not the dyslexic brain that can't process information, because we know it can and it does. It just happens to develop differently. The problem is that our education system isn't currently set up to nurture this type of difference. It uses a cookie-cutter approach, which in my opinion is what's broken, not the dyslexic. No matter how much it makes the dyslexic feel as though they're the one broken or damaged in some way. The education system expects dyslexics to do something that a dyslexic is just not ready to do, like reading and spelling. Instead of focusing on the dyslexic strengths, which we'll discuss in the next video, it brings out the weaknesses, and only the weaknesses. And this can be very damaging. Types of dyslexia and how to identify them. If your child struggles with reading, sounding out words, and understanding what they read, then you might have a dyslexic in the house. Since dyslexia is genetic, it would be helpful to take a moment to look at the family tree. You might find that there's some dyslexics among you. Dyslexia is a learning difference that hinders the individual's ability to read, which affects spelling, writing, as well as comprehension skills. Dyslexia symptoms include difficulty learning new words, delayed speech development, difficulty with rhyming words, confusing letters for each other, reading below the expected level for their age, grammar issues, problem spelling, poor sentence structure, lack of phonemic awareness, avoidance of reading out loud, and difficulty copying words from a secondary source. So what are the types of dyslexia? We know that humans love to categorize things, even when things clearly do not fit neatly in one category or the other. For example, did you know that not all conifers are evergreens? So, experts in their experty fashion, you guessed it, created categories. Why, do you ask? It's supposed to increase the effectiveness of treatment. Now I want you to picture dyslexia as a beautiful cake. Now we're going to cut into that cake to see the different layers that make up the specific type of dyslexia that you or your family member may be dealing with. The first layer we're going to speak of is phonological dyslexia. Now, phonology is the study of speech sounds and how they change depending on certain situations or placements in syllables, words, or sentences. Phonological dyslexia causes struggles to decode or sound out words. Phonological dyslexia may include difficulty learning sounds made by letter or letter combinations, difficulty sounding out unfamiliar words, difficulty spelling, or spelling the same word in different ways on the same page, as well as slow reading, avoiding reading activities, and difficulty recognizing familiar words in new text. The next layer is rapid naming dyslexia. You guessed it, it's when people struggle to rapidly name colors, numbers, or letters. It is not that they do not know these things. It simply takes longer to come up with the correct word. Symptoms of rapid naming dyslexia may include difficulty retrieving words, frequently substituting words or leaving out words altogether, slow to respond orally, slower to complete reading or writing assignments, making up nonsense words in place of real ones, using gestures in place of words. The next layer is double defect dyslexia. Are you seeing how experts have expertly named these types of dyslexia? There are two things going on with this type. These two things are the naming speed and identifying the sounds in words. Let us be clear, it is not uncommon to have a combination of double defect, rapid naming, and phonological dyslexia. Double defect is largely regarded as the most severe type of dyslexia. Symptoms for double defect dyslexia include poor naming, speed rate when asked to recall words, weak phonological awareness. The next layer we're going to discuss is surface dyslexia. This is when one who can sound out new words with ease, but fails to recognize familiar words by sight. This type of dyslexia affects words that need to be memorized because they don't sound how they're spelled, and it makes it more difficult to sound them out. Other names for surface dyslexia are visual or dyseidetic dyslexia. It's not uncommon to have both phonological and surface dyslexia. Symptoms of surface dyslexia can include difficulty with whole word recognition, slow to read, avoidance of reading activities, difficulty with spelling, difficulty reading words that don't sound the way they're spelled, difficulty reading new words by sight. The next layer we're going to speak about is visual dyslexia. This type affects the visual processing much like the name suggests, making it so the brain doesn't get the complete picture of what the eye sees. This makes it very tricky to learn how to spell or form letters since the brain is not relaying a complete picture. Spelling and letter formation require the brain to relay the correct letter sequence or shape. Symptoms of visual dyslexia include text appearing blurred or going in and out of focus, difficulty tracking across lines of text, difficulty keeping your place in the text, text appearing double or alternating between single and double, headaches or even eye strain, which are associated with reading. Now, there are several other learning differences that a person diagnosed with dyslexia may experience. They are not types of dyslexia. So we had our dyslexia as the cake. We have our types of dyslexia as the layers. Now this would be like the toppings on the cake. So the first is left-right disorder. That is the inability to tell your left from your right. It's sometimes called directional dyslexia. The next is called dysgraphia. When individuals have difficulty with writing or other fine motor skills, this affects word spacing, sizing, spelling, legibility, and expression. Then we have dyscalculia, and that is an impairment to the ability to perform accurate math calculations, problem solving, reasoning, learning numbers-related concepts, performing basic math skills. Dyscalculia is sometimes called the number or math dyslexia. And then the last topping is auditory processing disorder. Individuals with auditory processing disorder experience problems with the brain's ability to process various speech sounds. This disorder is sometimes referred to as auditory dyslexia. Now, I'd like you to take a look at what my dyslexic cake and its layers and toppings would look like. So in the picture, we can see the model. I clearly have dyslexia, and the layers are phonological dyslexia, rapid naming dyslexia, double defect dyslexia, surface dyslexia, as well as visual dyslexia. Now, not every cake is going to look this way. Now, two of my toppings would be ADHD and dysgraphia. So this is what my model would look like. So as you go through this video, why not pause and check out the different layers and write down what matches you or your student or family member so that you have a better idea of what you're working with. We have more to discuss. Next time we'll talk about how dyslexia is really a superpower. Until next time.